Hi, welcome to English Composition. I'm Michael Chang. I'm here with Cher Chen today.
欢迎各位同学回来英文作文课程，我是 Cher。
All right, today we will learn about how to use examples to create a recommendation letter.
好，我们今天要学习的呢是如何使用一些例子来写出一篇好的这个推荐信。
Right, now let's learn more about using examples in our writing focus.
好，我们现在我看一下我们写作重点呢，我们来看看要如何去使用这些例子。
All right, in this unit, we are going to show you how to write a recommendation letter.
好，我们在这个单元之中呢，像我们刚刚提到的，我们要教各位同学如何去写作一篇推荐信。
Right, for a recommendation letter, you can tell about a person's good qualities, but it's actually better to see if you can show why the person you're writing about is a good person to hire.
好，那当然我们在写推荐信的时候呢，你会提到这个人的一些好处哦，但是呢，光是说他的好处是不够的，你最好还能够举出一些例证来证明这样子的一个人呢是怎么样可以去吸引公司去雇佣他。
And you can do this by giving examples of the person's good qualities.
要达到这样的效果呢，我们可以借由提供一些实际上的例子，来表示这个人的一些好的地方哦。
Right now, there's a big difference between telling and showing. So I can tell you somebody is responsible, but you might not really understand how responsible a person is unless I show you an example to prove it to you.
我们有句话说百闻不如一见哦，当你说某个人他是非常的负责任的时候呢，除非有真正实际上的例子来作为佐证，否则你大概很难真正的去了解这个人到底有多负责任。
And so in today's model passage, the teacher will say that the person she's recommending is responsible, and then she gives examples so that you can see the student through the eyes of the teacher.
好，那在今天的写作范例里面呢，老师会提到哦，这个学生呢，他是非常的有责任感。那到底他有多有责任感呢？哦，老师会举出一些例子，让你能够透过老师的眼睛来认识这个学生。
Okay, now giving examples can really liven up your paper and make your points much clearer, but there are some guidelines that you should follow when you add examples to your paper.
好，我们提到的这些例子呢，当然生动的实际的例子哦，可以活化整篇文章，并且使你的论点更加的清晰。但是呢，举例的时候，以下我们会提到一些重点哦，请各位同学可以去照着去做。
Right, so first, your example should be directly related to your topic.
好，首先呢，你的这个例子呢，必须要紧扣着你的主题。
For example, let's assume that you're writing a recommendation letter for a student named Jennifer Lin.
好，我们现在举例来说哦，假设我们要写一封信来推荐一个学生，他的名字叫做 Jennifer Lin。
So if we wanted to show that Jennifer Lin is very responsible, we would not write about her good grades and her high IQ because these would be examples of her intelligence and not examples of how she acted responsibly.
比如说，你想说的是这个 Jennifer 她很有责任感哦，那你就不应该提到像是她功课很好或者是智商很高这样的事情，因为这些呢是用来说明她的天分的，跟她的责任感是没有相关的。
Right, now our second guideline is that you should make sure that your examples are fair.
好，那第二个呢，你必须要先确定你举出来这个例子呢是具备公平性的。
And so you shouldn't choose biased examples or very uncommon examples to prove your point.
好，那当然你就不需要去挑选一些不客观或者是不寻常的例子来作为佐证。
And so, for example, you might say that Taiwan has a rather cool climate, and you can prove this by giving an example of a very cool day last February.
好，举例来说呢，如果你想要说明台湾的天气很冷哦，那你却使用这个2月份中最冷的一天来作为佐证。
Right, but this example would be very biased because we know that most days in Taiwan are very warm. And so you can't just pick one very cool day and then ignore all the many warm days that we have in Taiwan and come to the conclusion that Taiwan is generally very cool.
好像我们刚刚提到这个例子呢，就是非常不客观的一个例子哦。因为大家都知道，在台湾大多数的时候天气都蛮温暖的，你不应该从这样子温暖的天气中挑了一天特别冷的，就说这个台湾的天气很冷。
Right, and so what we can see here is that your examples must fit the general trend of a situation. And so likewise, it would be unfair to say that Jennifer Lin is irresponsible and unpunctual if she were late to class one time in all the years that she went to school.
那也因此呢，你的举例必须要符合着它的常态性哦。也就是说呢，像这个写作范例中，老师不能因为 Jennifer 一年之中只迟到了一次，就说她是不守时又不负责，这样呢是有失公正的。
Right, and now let's talk about our last example and our last guideline, and this is that you should explain how your examples are related to your essay.
好，我们现在第3条你必须要注意到的重点呢，就是当你在举例的时候，你必须要去解释你举出来的例子跟你的论点之间的关联性。
And so, for example, don't just write a list as an example, but what you need to do is explain what each example shows.
好，这就是说呢，不要只举出一连串的例子哦。那当你举出例子的时候，你应该同时也要解释每一个例子所代表的意义。
All right, so now let's take a look at an example. And so the idea here is that you should avoid just listing a series of statistics, but instead, after you have some statistics, you should interpret them and show what they mean.
好，举例来说呢，各位同学应该要避免只去列出一连串的统计数字哦。那你应该看到数字的时候，你必须要去提供一些解释，去解读这些数字它的背后所代表的含义。
All right, so now let's take an imaginary company, which is ABC Publishing, and if we want to tell how much money they make, we could have figures like the ones that you see on the screen.
好，我们假设呢，现在有一个公司叫做 ABC 公司哦，那我们可以看到现在这个荧幕上呢，显现的是这个 ABC 公司它的收入。
And so we can see in 2007 they earned $1 million, 2008 they earned $2 million, and in 2009 they earned $4 million.
好，我们可以看到的是2007一直到2009年，它每年呢它的收入呢都不一样，从2007年是100万元，到2009年已经是400万元了。
Right, so now after we list these numbers, what we should do is we should interpret our raw figures.
好，当我们把这些原始的数据列出来之后哦，你必须再加以解释。
And so we could write something like this. ABC Publishing is growing more and more successful. It has doubled its earnings every year since 2007.
好，根据我们刚刚得到的这些数据呢，我们可以做出这样的解释哦。ABC 公司它越来越成功了，而且从2007年开始，它每年的收入呢都以双倍的方式来成长。
All right, so let's take a little bit of a break right now, and we will be back with more English composition in a few moments.
好，我们现在先休息一下，待会我们再回来继续讨论。
Welcome back. Now let's continue working on our recommendation letter.
欢迎回来，接下来我们再继续完成我们的这个推荐信哦。
Now, as we prepare to write our recommendation letter, let's brainstorm about the ideas that we can include in our recommendation letter.
好，当我们开始准备写作推荐信的时候呢，首先第一步我们先来进行脑力激荡。那借由脑力激荡呢，去想出一些特质，那我们可以放在推荐信里头的。
Right. When we are brainstorming, we're going to make, first of all, we're going to make a word web about what we want to put into our recommendation.
好，那在这脑力激荡的部分呢，我们将要做一个所谓的单字网。那在这个单字网之中呢，我们去想出一些可以放入推荐信之中的一些好的特质。
And so when we're brainstorming, we're going to think of some personal qualities of a candidate or the personal qualities of the person we're recommending. And so we want to think about things that an employer could value in a person.
好，在这个单字网之中呢，我们需要去脑力激荡出那这个被推荐者他有具备什么样的特质？那这些特质呢，当然是能够去吸引他未来的雇主去雇佣他。
Right, now let's start working on our word web.
好，现在我们来看一下我们的单字网。
Right, so right in the middle, we'll start off by writing down our topic, which is a recommendation letter.
好，那就像我们平常写作单字网的时候一样哦。首先呢，我们先在这个画面的正中央把我们的主题写下来。那当然，这次这个地方的主题就是推荐信。
All right, and so one quality that employers might appreciate is creativity, and so we have the word creative here. And so creativity is that they can think of new ideas on their own.
好，那我们首先呢，先写出来的第一个特质呢，我们讲到的是具有创造力。那创造力呢，当然就是指说，他可以想出一些自己与众不同一些独特的一些想法。
Okay, another quality is that the person is intelligent.
好，那另外一个特质呢，我们可以说到这个人是很有智慧的。
All right, and also we would like somebody, or employers often want somebody who is very responsible.
那当然，老板通常会希望能够有着这个具备责任感的员工哦，所以我们也提到责任感的部分。
All right, and if you want somebody who can fit into an office well, you hope that they're also a friendly person.
好，那如果说你希望能够找一个能够和办公室同事相处良好的人呢，那我们也可以加入这样一个特质，直到说这个人是非常友善的。
All right, another important thing is that the employee have some special skill, meaning that they're good with some specific tasks, such as maybe math or secretarial skills or engineering skills.
好，那当然呢，我们在寻找员工的时候，会希望员工具备一些特殊的能力哦，比如说他很适合从事这个秘书的工作，或者是他这个算术的部分非常的好哦。那因此呢，我们这里就写下来说，他在某一些特殊的这个事情上面，他有一些特长。
All right. Also, a good quality is if the person is experienced.
好，那还有一个可能呢，我们提到的是说，他是很有经验的。
All right. Another quality that I value in students as well as employees is that the person is independent, meaning that they can work on their own.
好，那老师也提到说呢，假设他是一个雇主的话，他会希望他的员工是能够独立作业的因此我们就提到了独立这个字。
And then another quality is that the person is very hardworking.
好，那接下来我们要提到的呢，就说这个人他必须是一个很认真上学、很认真工作的人因此我们就提到认真工作这个部分。
Right. What we will do now is we will watch a little skit, and we will learn more about the person that we're going to write the recommendation letter about. And so as we watch the skit, let's see if the person has any of the qualities that we just talked about.
好，那接下来呢，我们会给各位同学看一段短剧哦。那这段短剧之中呢，我们会看到有一个学生他会寻求他的这个教授去帮他写作一封推荐信。那么各位同学在看的时候呢，可以注意一下他有没有出现我们刚刚在这单字网之中提到的一些特质。
Excuse me, Miss Lee, are you busy now?
Hi, Jennifer. Come on in. I'm not busy at all. Professor Chang and I were just chatting. So how have you been? I haven't seen you for months.
I've been very busy. I'm getting ready to graduate, and I'm looking for a job.
That sounds very good. So what kind of job are you looking for?
I'm trying to find a job in PR with a large international company.
Wow, that's very ambitious. So what can I do for you today?
Actually, it is about the job I'm applying for. I was wondering if you could write a recommendation letter for me.
Certainly, it's no problem at all. Just let me know what I have to do.
Thank you, Miss Lee. You just have to fill out this form and mail it.
Okay, I'll do it this week.
Thank you again, Miss Lee.
You're welcome, Jennifer. It was really nice talking to you again. Bye.
Bye.
Did you ever teach Jennifer?
Oh, yes, I did. She's one of the best students that I've ever had. She was one of the smartest and most responsible students that I've taught in the last 10 years.
Yes, it was the same for me. She was in the first class that I taught here. She was the most responsible student in the class. She always did her work on time, and she always acted as the group leader whenever I assigned group projects.
She did the same thing in my class.
And she was so hardworking too. I coached her in the speech contest last year. She spent weeks making sure that she could deliver the speech perfectly.
Oh, I remember that contest. She was really good.
And you know what probably impressed me the most about her?
No, what?
She was really innovative. Her groups always came up with the most creative ideas whenever they did presentations. They always had skits and games and charts. Everything they did was just so interesting.
Wow, it looks like you have a lot of good things that you can write about her.
Yes, I do. In fact, I think I'm going to start working on this recommendation now.
Okay, have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, so you can see that in our word web there are a lot of qualities that we talked about, but we don't want to write about all of those qualities in our recommendation letter.
好，各位同学可以发现哦，在我们的单字网里面呢，我们提到了非常多的这个好的特质哦，但是呢，当我们真正在撰写的时候，我们并没有办法把全部都提到哦。
But from the little skit, we saw that there are certain qualities that Jennifer has, and we are going to mention these qualities in the recommendation letter. First, she's responsible, and she's also hardworking, and finally, she's creative.
好，那在刚刚我们这个短句之中呢，我们会发现哦，这个要被推荐的这位主角Jennifer，她具备了一些特质哦。那她特别具备的特质呢，是包括说她很有责任感哦，那她很认真上学，而且呢，她也很具备这个创造力。
And so we're going to put those three qualities into a list, and then we can add some extra details to them.
好，那我们现在要做的事情呢，就是把这三个特殊的这个特质，把它条列成项哦。那接下来我们再加入一些细部的一些细节去佐证。
Right, so now here is our list with the added details.
好，我们现在在荧幕上看到的呢，也就是我们接下来要做的这个条列。
Right, and the first quality is that she's responsible.
好，那我们刚刚提到他第一个很好的人格特质呢，是他是一个非常具有责任感的人。
And so as we try to show some examples of how she is responsible, one example is that she was always on time, and another way that she was responsible is that she always acted as the group leader.
好，为了要佐证说这个 Jennifer 她的确是非常具有责任感哦，我们举出一些例子。那第一个例子呢，我们讲到的是她总是准时到达。那接下来我们也提到的是呢，她总是担任这个小组里面的组长。
All right, and the next quality we have is that she's hardworking. And as examples of how she is hardworking, we can say that she studied very hard, and then she also worked very hard to prepare for a speech contest.
好，那接下来我们第二个提到的特点呢，是他非常认真上学。那举出来的例子呢，第一个我们讲到，当然就是他在学习上面是非常认真的。那同时呢，我们也提到说，他在准备这个演讲比赛的时候呢，他就是非常的认真。
All right, and then the third quality we can see is that she's very creative. And as we give examples of how she's creative, we can say that she thinks very quickly, and also she had a great group presentation that showed her creativity.
好，那第三个特质我们讲到的是他非常具备创造力哦。那在这个地方我们举出来的例子呢，第一个是他通常反应非常的快哦。那同时呢，他这个曾经在课堂上做过非常好的这个小组报告。
All right, so now let's take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, we will create an outline, and then we'll show you the essay.
好，我们现在先休息一下，待会我们再回来，我们再完成这篇推荐信。
Welcome back. Let's continue working on our essay by forming an outline.
好，欢迎各位同学回来。现在呢，我们接着要来写作我们刚刚的大纲哦。
All right, now to start off, what we want to do is have a general idea that we can use for the thesis statement.
好，那首先呢，我们先要有一个这个大致上的一个想法哦。那我们可以来写出我们的主旨句。
All right, so let's use this idea here. I have found her to be responsible, hardworking, and innovative.
好，那因此呢，在我们主旨句的部分呢，我们写出来的句子是像这样子的。我发现他是非常具备责任感、认真上学，而且具有创造力。
All right, and the next thing that we want to do is jump to our conclusion so that we know where we're going with our essay.
好，那接下来我们要做的事情呢，是跳到我们的结论的部分。那我们写出结论之后呢，我们就知道这整篇文章应该最后会在哪里做一个总结。
Right, and we can use just a sentence like this. I'm sure that she'll be a wonderful asset to any company that hires her.
好，那我们可以写出像这样子的句子我确信她将会成为任何雇佣她的公司一个宝贵的资产。
Right, so now we have a start, and then we have a direction that we want to get to at the end. And so what we're going to do now is fill in the complete outline.
好，那现在呢，我们已经很清楚知道我们想要写的东西是什么了。那接下来我们就把这些内容填入我们的大纲之中那我们就可以完成我们的完整的大纲。
All right, so let's start with our taking a look at our introduction for the complete outline.
好，首先我们先看一下在这个开头的部分。
Right, so some things that we want to put into the introduction are, first, that we want to make sure that we tell our purpose.
好，首先呢，我们要先确定我们有把我们的写作的目的写出来。
And our purpose is to give a recommendation.
好，那我们的目的呢，当然就是去做一个推荐的动作。
And then to show why we're able to give this recommendation, we want to tell the reader what our relationship is to the student.
好，那接下来呢，我们要提到的是，我们跟这个被推荐者他们的关系是什么？
Right, and we can say that we were the teacher for English reading, English conversation, and also her advisor.
好，我们提到的是呢，我们曾经教过他在这个英文阅读课、英文绘画课。我们他曾经是我们的学生，那我们同时也是他的指导老师。
All right, and then finally, in our introduction, we want to tell our opinion of the student. And this is what we wrote earlier as our thesis. We're going to say that I found her to be responsible, hardworking, and innovative.
那最后呢，我们提到我们对他的意见的部分，那我们就可以把刚刚写作的主旨句放过来讲到说他是具备责任感、认真上学，而且呢具有创造力。
All right, so now what we're going to do is take these three ideas and form different body paragraphs.
好，我们接下来呢要把这些想法呢拿出来，我们接下来写作主体段落的部分。
Right, and our first body paragraph is how she is responsible.
好，第一个主体段落我们要 focus 我们要专注在讲这个责任感的部分。
And so here we have to give examples. And our first example of how she's responsible is that she came to class on time.
好，那第一个例子呢，我们讲到的是她总是准时到达课堂上。
Right, another example could be that she did her work on time.
那另外一个例子呢，我们可以讲到说她总是能够如期完成她的作业。
And then finally, maybe the best example is that she always took the role of group leader whenever they were working on a group project.
那在证明她具有责任感这件事上面呢，最好的例子可能是这个也就是她总是担任着小组的组长。
Right, now the next paragraph will be about how Jennifer is very hardworking.
好，那下一个段落我们讲到的是这 Jennifer 她是怎么样的认真向学
And so examples of being hardworking are that she got good grades.
好，那举的第一个例子是她总是得到很好的成绩。
That she always prepared for quizzes and tests.
也就是她在考试的上面呢都会好好的准备。
And that she always worked hard to prepare for the speech contest.
好，那她同时呢在准备这个演讲比赛的时候非常认真。
Right, and then finally we're going to look at the last body paragraph, which is about how she's innovative.
好，那最后一个段落呢，我们要讲到的是她是多么的具备创造力。
Right, and so examples of being innovative are that she thinks quickly and creatively during role plays.
那我们讲到第一个是呢，她的反应非常快，而且非常有创意。那在进行这个角色扮演的活动时，总是表现非常好。
And that she had a great group presentation.
那她曾经做过一个非常好的这个小组报告。
And then we can have some examples of what she put into the group presentation also.
那接下来我们可以对于她这个做的小组报告呢，加入一些细节。
Right, and finally we will finish with our conclusion. And in our conclusion, we want to say that she's very talented.
好，那在结尾的部分呢，我们想要说她是一个非常具备天分的小孩。
That she works very hard to use her talents well.
同时呢，她也非常认真的向学。
And that she would be an asset to any company that hires her.
最后再确信说，她的确会成为每个公司非常宝贵的一个资产。
Now let's take a look at our writing model.
好，我们现在来看一下写作范例。
To whom it may concern.
近期者。
I am writing to give my highest recommendation for Jennifer Lin. Miss Lin was my student in second year reading and in fourth year English conversation. I was also her advisor. I have found her to be responsible, hardworking, and innovative.
我借由这封信来推荐 Jennifer 林小姐。林小姐曾是我2年级英文阅读班级及4年级口语训练班级的学生。我同时也担任过她的导师。我发现她具有责任感、认真向学，且具备创造力。
Miss Lin is one of the most responsible students that I have ever taught. She was always on time for class, and she always turned her assignments in on time.
林小姐是我所教过的学生中相当具有责任心的一位。她总是准时出席，而且准时缴交作业。
In addition, when the class worked in groups, Miss Lin usually acted as the group leader, which meant that she would record the opinions of the group and present them to the class.
除此之外，当课堂上实行小组作业时，林小姐经常担任组长。她必须记录下小组讨论的内容，并且在全班面前报告。
Miss Lin is also extremely hardworking. She received excellent grades in both of my classes. She was always well prepared for all the quizzes and exams that I gave.
林小姐同时非常认真向学，她在我教授的2个班级都获得极佳的成绩。她总是认真准备所有的考试。
In addition, I had the opportunity to coach her for the English speech contest in 2005. The contest consisted of a prepared speech and an impromptu speech.
除此之外，我在2005年曾指导她参加英文演讲比赛。这个比赛包括了命题演讲和即席演讲。
Miss Lin began planning for the prepared speech 1 month before the date of the contest. She wrote her own speech and gave it to me for corrections.
林小姐在比赛前1个月就开始准备命题演讲，她将讲稿写好，再交由我来修订。
Then she spent weeks perfecting every aspect of her pronunciation and intonation before the contest.
接着，她花了几个礼拜，在使她的发音及腔调都达到完美。
Miss Lin's hard work and preparation resulted in her taking first prize in both the prepared and impromptu sections of the speech contest.
林小姐的认真准备使她在命题演讲及即席演讲的项目中都获得了第1名。
Finally, Miss Lin is one of the most innovative students that I have ever taught. Miss Lin has always reacted quickly and creatively whenever she has had to perform in our in-class role-play activities.
最后，林小姐是我曾教授过的学生中最具创造力的一位。在课堂上的角色扮演活动时，林小姐的反应总是又快又有创意。
She was also the leader for a group that made a brilliant presentation on endangered species in Taiwan when she was in my second year English reading class.
在2年级的阅读班上，她也担任组长，在报告台湾即将灭绝物种的这个主题上表现非常杰出。
The group prepared a creative skit and a number of interactive wall charts that kept the entire class interested in their presentation.
她带领的小组准备了一出短剧以及几幅互动的画图，使全班都对他们的报告深感兴趣。
Jennifer Lin is one of the most talented students that I have taught in the last 10 years. But beyond being talented, she also works hard to maximize the talent that she has.
林小姐是我这10年来所教过的学生中最具天分的一位，但除了具备天分之外，她也很认真上进，使她的天分达到最大值。
I am sure that she will be a wonderful asset to any company that hires her.
我确信，无论任何一家公司雇佣她，她都会成为该公司的宝贵的资产。
Sincerely, Lydia Lee, Professor, NTCB.
诚挚的 Lydia Lee.
All right. So now what we can do is talk a bit about our homework. And for your homework, make sure that you review the material in this unit and also do the writing exercise.
好，在作业的部分呢，请各位同学记得要再复习一下我们今天讲的内容，同时呢把这个练习完成。
Right, when you do the writing activity, write a recommendation letter, and this can be a letter about yourself, or it can be about somebody else that's your friend.
好，那在你的这个写作练习部分呢，请写作一封推荐信，可以介绍你自己或是别人。
All right, thanks for joining us this week for English composition. We'll be back again next week.
谢谢各位同学今天的参与，我们下次再见。